94.3 The Dude is very grateful to our men and women in uniform. We're proud to recognize local members of our military by turning the spotlight on them right now in our Soldier Salute.
I'm your host, Sergeant First Class Retired Don Sorensen, and on today's Soldier Salute, I've got United States Army veterans and brothers Eric and Alan Anderson. Eric and Alan, tell me about yourselves.
My name's Eric. I was born in Washington State, raised in Alaska. I joined the Army in 2007. Tried to get out of Alaska by joining the Army, and when I went airborne, they sent me back to Alaska. Deployed to Afghanistan in 2009 to 2010 for 12 months. It was a great experience. I loved what I did. I left active duty in 2011 and went to the National Guard for a year and a half. I heard that I had another deployment coming up, and when I was getting close to my deployment, that's when I found out that I was able to re-enlist. That's when my brother decided to join the Army.
So the word that I got is that he was set to head to Afghanistan again. First one was hard enough, being a civilian at the time. Hearing that my brother's about to go back to Afghanistan, it kind of made my heart sink a little bit. I knew that I couldn't be in the same unit as my brother and make sure that he got home okay. I became a medic so that I could help other people's brothers and sisters get back to their family. So yeah, that's why I ended up joining. As he left active duty, I was going into basic.
I think it's pretty cool how I met you guys. Why don't you tell our listeners how we got to know each other?
We do a lot of charity work and work with a lot of organizations. One of those organizations is Range 214. Range 214 is trying to end PTSD for veterans that struggle with it. And so we have a fencing company on the side that actually 10% of the proceeds go to Range 214 into the mission of ending PTSD.
I love what you guys are doing with the fencing company, and really the biggest reason that I picked it was, one, because it is veteran-owned and operated, but number two is because of the percentage of the proceeds goes to support Range 214. But building fences isn't the only way that you guys support the veterans projects, is it?
So we're supporting Range 214 in multiple ways. We believe veterans are the best people to help other veterans. One of the things that we're doing is putting on an event that's April 27th called the Carolina Draft Mixer. And all the proceeds of that fundraiser go to Range 214.
It'll be held at Crafty Draft Brew Pub in Lexington, South Carolina. We'll have live music. Brent Lundy will be playing, as well as Cover Story.
So yeah, it starts at 4 p.m.
To find out more about this, you can look up the Carolina Draft Mixer on Facebook, but also you can look at range214.org.
Guys, April is the month of the military family, and a lot of people think nuclear family when they hear military family. They think mom or dad, kids, spouse that's in the military, and what that means to the overall picture of a military family. But that's not all that a military family is. I mean, you guys are brothers. Tell me what being a military family means to you.
For me, I had my family in the military, and when I left the military, my brother was going into it. I had a rare opportunity for myself to have not only brothers and sisters I had in the military, but when I went home, I had somebody to talk to that understood it, that was my own brother. It helped me through a lot, any dark time that I had, bad place I was in. I could always call my brother. It was just a blessing to be able to have my brother there to have my back.
Yeah, so it's interesting is that, I always thought that I didn't have PTSD. My brother, he seems to have it worse than I do, so I must not have it. And it took my wife to tell me otherwise. But it's been helpful as military brothers to surround ourselves with people that have been through the same thing. American Infidels Veterans Motorcycle Club has helped us with that. And then linking up with Range 214 and doing stuff with them has been very helpful too.
I'm able to call him and talk to him about my issues, and he's able to tell me about his. Rare thing that I wish more people had was a brother that you can call at any time. PTSD for me was doing it a lot on my own, even though I had my brother there. Well, it was more of a personal thing, and I looked at it as weakness, because that's what a lot of veterans look at it as, is weakness.
Eric and Alan, seeing y'all's bond as brothers, it makes me feel really good about you and where your future is going by dealing with this PTSD and having each other. But just because you don't have a biological brother doesn't mean that you don't have a larger brotherhood out there for these other guys. Tell me about the American Infidels.
Well, Eric actually met one of the members at his college, so he started hanging out with them a little before, and I came in shortly after. But we had already had plans. We found that veterans help veterans the best. It's just you've been there, you've gone through this stuff, you know how to be there for each other. When we linked up with the American Infidels Veterans Motorcycle Club, they just had the same heart. It's a charity organization. They help veterans any way they can. They'll give the shirt off their back for anybody that needs it, and that's just been really helpful through all the troubles that we go through.
Eric, you met someone from American Infidels while you were taking college courses.
I was going to Midlands Tech. I rode up on my Harley Davidson White Glide, and I heard another bike creeping up behind me, and I pulled into the parking spot. It was a guy that we met. His name was Stitch. He was a very happy guy, and he wanted to take time to give me some information about what the American Infidels are, and we built a friendship. We had what we wanted to do to help veterans, but we didn't have the tools. They knew how to connect with veterans and had a lot of resources that we can use what we wanted to do, our passion after leaving the military.
In the military, you have this brotherhood that you can always depend on, you can always go to, and it's something when you become a civilian, when you get that DD-214, you feel like you lose that, and so many people have hard times getting acquainted with the civilian world. Groups like the American Infidels has really helped Eric and I because it's a brotherhood. You have groups like this that really continue that brotherhood on.
Eric and Alan, with this being the month of the military family and what you guys are doing, it seems like American Infidels is trying to make sure that those military brothers and sisters out there that feel like they don't have family find a way to connect with their military family. Tell me more about Range 214.
So Range 214 is a program that brings in veterans, and they don't just give you a quick turnaround. Veterans that are struggling with PTSD, they come to Range 214 to do a 7-day program, and then there's a follow-up about 18 months afterwards. They've had over 700 people have gone through the program, modeled after Boulder Crest Retreat, and they've had an 88% success rate of cycling veterans off of PTSD.
One of the things that our listeners may not be connecting is that when they hear out there on the news and see all over social media that we lose 22 veterans a day because of suicide, that is a direct result from PTSD. Now, Eric, you were saying that there's more than an 80% success rate with Range 214 and what they're doing. Man, that is huge. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there's other programs out there, and a lot of veterans, we feel that we're almost forgotten and looked over. There's a stigma with PTSD that we feel like we should be able to handle it. It's something that we've handled worse things in our lives. But Range 214, with the different programs that they do, transcendental meditation, equine therapy, and some exercises, yoga, things that take your mind away from PTSD and start to recharge your battery and get you going on the right path instead of stuck in the same place.
Guys, not only does the patch for the American Infidel Veteran Motorcycle Club looks cool, but you guys are involved in so many great things. I went to the Oyster Roast last year. It was a fantastic event. The concert was unbelievable. Great prizes. And it looks like this event coming up at the Carolina Draft Mixer on April 27th at the Crafty Draft Brew Pub is going to be every bit as exciting as that. Tell me what else you guys are involved in.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different things that we do. There's some major events that, like you said, Carolina Draft Mixer, April 27th, we're doing that. We're still accepting sponsorships. If anybody wants to jump on that, you can go to our Facebook site, American Infidels Veterans Motorcycle Club, South Carolina chapter. Find us on there. It's going to be a great event. Live music, vendors, 50-50 raffle, silent auction, all sorts of stuff. But then we also have another event coming up June 29th. That's the second annual American Way Dam Run. And we raised over $10,000 at that event. And we're really excited and looking forward to doubling that or tripling it, hopefully. Just helping Range 214 help veterans that with PTSD. All proceeds from the event go to Range 214. Something that's amazing is that when you have these organizations like the American Infidels Veterans Motorcycle Club and Range 214 that come together to help support each other, I just believe that South Carolina can set the standard for the rest of the nation for helping veterans. I want to see that happen at this event and many events to come. See these organizations get the funding they need so that they can really pursue the mission that they're after.
Guys, from the interaction I've had with a lot of the veterans, it seems that most soldiers that are suffering from PTSD don't really recognize it in themselves. Alan, you had stated earlier that you didn't feel like you had PTSD because it wasn't as severe as your brother's. Tell me how you came to the realization that you actually were suffering.
Yeah, it actually took my wife saying something I just thought it was normal. I just thought I saw my brother that there was a time when, you know, he was in a ditch calling out coordinates for his position. You know, you hear of these guys where they have these flashbacks and stuff, and mine was just different. And I think every person's is different. I had panic attacks. I had, you know, the nightmares and different things, but I just thought that was normal. And it took my wife really being like, you're not the same. There's something that you need to deal with. That really pushed me to get help I needed.
Eric, you yourself had mentioned about how your mom reacted when she found out that you were getting help. How important is it for our veterans out there to get that help?
It's very important. I went through it, even though I had my brother there, but I feel most of it was on my own, just because I felt like I shouldn't include other people in it. It was a really rough time. Still feeling like it was something that I shouldn't complain about. I started drinking a lot, and it wasn't until I went through PTSD group that I started learning these tools to use to better fight the PTSD, understanding that there is something wrong. And I found triggers that were causing those issues, waking up in a ditch or being under a tree during fireworks. And it wasn't the sound of the firework or anything. That doesn't sound like an explosion, but the concussion of it over and over and over that freaked me out. But some of the triggers that caused a lot of the problems, the number one thing was liquor. And when I cut that out, it started bringing me back to more of a productive person of society, where I can go out and enjoy myself more. I hope that any veteran that is struggling with PTSD, if they see little signs, reach out and get some help, because you don't want to be that old man that never found help.
Thanks for joining us in our Soldier Salute, presented by Little Pigs Barbecue, serving Columbia since 1963 with that bodacious buffet, and by Lexington Guns and Shooting Range, veteran owned and operated.